Hey, good afternoon. I'm Drew Thompson, Market Development Agronomist with Pride Seeds, and I work in basically the south central part of the province. And I'm also joined with Matt Chappell, Market Development Agronomist for the deep southwest of the province. And we're here today to talk about fungicides in corn, and specifically how do the various genetics that we bring to the market, how do they respond to the application of a fungicide? And what we want to try to dive into is answer the question, does one variety, is it more likely to provide a positive response to a fungicide than another? And it's interesting, I've got a bit of a background with agrochem, particularly fungicides, and Matt's got a background in product development and advancing the genetics. And that's what it all boils down to, is the genetics. So Matt, give us an insight as to how maybe the genetic selection process might impact this question.
It all starts with our breeding program. Our breeders out in the field identifying some of their key inbred lines, whether they are already in commercial hybrids or hybrids that have commercial potential. Through this, it's a lot of selection and ratings through several of their replicated locations and in their breeding nurseries, where they identify, susceptibilities to northern corn leaf blight, rust, eye spot, etc. We also have, with AgriLion Genetics, a native traits program. Within this program, they identify, through molecular markers, etc., what a line's potential is to resist northern corn leaf blight or rust. And through these identifications, they can then predict what a hybrid would do. Is it moderately susceptible? Is it completely a resistant hybrid? This is all verified with boots on the ground at the product development level through our pre-commercial research testing. And again, these are all sites that are well replicated throughout North America and really focus in on our commercial needs. In addition to these key hybrids that are coming forward, they're at the last stage of advancement, they're being compared to existing commercial hybrids in inoculated locations where we will bring in the disease, whether it's Gauss's wilt in the west, whether it's northern corn leaf blight, and we will test it intensively under high pressure to give us good ratings and a good understanding of how these hybrids act.
And so when you're under that inoculated, are we adding a fungicide, or we're just trying to figure out how the genetics do?
No fungicides. It is a clear rating scale, a division between susceptible and resistant hybrids.
Perfect. So what we're doing then is we're going out there, we're starting at the base genetics, and we're bringing it through the program to make sure that we're bringing the highest yielding, best agronomic package to the field possible. Is that a fair summation?
Right on.
And it's neat because then we take those best genetics and we bring them to the field, and we bring them, before they release to growers, we'll do the side-by-side trials, see how they perform, especially compared to the industry standards. And then we start, sometimes those plots get a fungicide, sometimes not. We can start to build a bit of it. But really what we do is, as Matt said, we know what the likelihood of a response to a disease is. So if we know that the disease pressure is high, maybe we're a corn-on-corn environment, so we've got a bit more disease pressure. Maybe we've got a site where we've got lots of fertility and we've got a guy that likes to push the population, the disease potential is high. But really what it boils down to is, when we're talking about disease pressure, is, we don't know. Fungicides are used preventatively. We have to get them on before the disease is there. But, coming back from my research background, what we found was the number one factor for influencing disease pressure is yield potential. And if you've got a high yielding environment, you typically have a big dense canopy, you typically have just the ideal conditions for that disease to proliferate. And so if you've got 150 bushel corn potential, likelihood of getting a lot of disease, especially a lot of disease that we're going to get an economic response to a fungicide, is quite a bit lower than if we start going into that 200 bushel and beyond environment. And so really what we do say though is get out there, take a look at your field, see what's there, and if it's if it looks good, we've got lots of yield potential, and we're hearing that there is some disease, yeah, let's go out there and think about using a fungicide. Now, to say variety A versus variety B, we do find that some varieties respond more. The problem is, though, to say that they respond more in every single situation, that's not the case. But a lot of the ones that do respond more, those are what we call our racehorse type varieties. They're the ones that are going to form a big cob early. They're going to take everything they have out of their plant and they're going to pump it into those kernels to make the biggest cob and the highest grain yield possible. The problem is, if you start getting some disease on the leaves and you start to reduce that photosynthetic capacity, what's going to happen is it's not going to have the energy to fill it, so it's going to start pulling from its stalk and it's going to go down. So yes, there is some differences between varieties, but ultimately it's what are the environmental conditions. Get out there, choose the best genetics, walk your field, see what the environment's bringing, and if you think that there's a likelihood of a response to a fungicide, then go for it. I don't think it matters what variety you have. If you've got a big crop and you've got some potential, let's protect it. So the question that we're trying to deal with here is, do certain hybrids vary in their response to a fungicide? And you know what, year in, year out, yes, we do see that difference. But really what's driving that difference is more the environment and the management that we're bringing. So really, it's not hybrid A versus hybrid B. It's getting out there, knowing your crop, knowing what's going on in your field, and that's ultimately what should decide whether or not we should use a fungicide in our cornfields.